Hello, and welcome to another episode of Trainee TV. Today, we're going to cover the basics of production. Using Emily's help, we're going to cover set, camera, lighting, a bit of audio, plus some editing and colour grading. Every set is different, but as a guide, it's a good idea to avoid plain white walls wherever possible, as they're really difficult to get right. Unless your design specifically requires plain white walls, we'd suggest dressing them in some way. A colour armour could be a cheap option for this, or some plants. Then, unless your design specifically requires you to match, be careful that your talent doesn't clash with your set. Here, Emily's outfit works really nicely with the yellows and greens in our set. If you're not sure what colours work well together, try clicking the link and have a play around. You also want your set to look consistent through all the shot backgrounds you use, so if you're shooting multiple camera angles, make sure all the backgrounds work together. For instance, this is bad because it doesn't match, but this is good. With all video formats, the first thing a viewer sees before anything else is what the camera is doing, so it's really important to get this bit right. Otherwise you risk distracting viewers from the thing they tuned in to see. Firstly, shot sizes. There are 8 different shot sizes altogether, and we go into these in more detail in our shot sizes video. Right now we're going to take a look at the mid shot, the widest shot size that allows your viewers to read the emotions on the face of your talent. If you're filming something like a speaker at a conference, you'll likely use this shot. Always try to keep the speaker in the centre of the frame, and if they use a lectern, it's a good idea to have the top of the lectern in shot to give viewers context that a lectern is being used. The speaker might move around when presenting. If so, the camera operator should try to keep them roughly in the middle of the frame as they move. To do this, the operator should use the speaker's movement to justify panning the camera, like this. If the camera is chasing the speaker, like this, or if the camera is anticipating the speaker's movement, like this, your viewers will be distracted by the camera movement and might miss something important. Don't forget, if the speaker is moving around, then your background will be changing, so make sure you have a set that allows them to move. One last important point, and that is where to position the speaker's head in the frame. If you break the frame into thirds, look to have your speaker's face or eyes on the upper third line. This applies to all of your shots. In basic terms, you want to light each element of your scene separately. First up, we're going to light Emily using 3-point lighting, which is a pretty standard method of lighting an individual using 3 lights. This technique can be used in a variety of settings, in an interview, for the speaker's main position at a conference, maybe even in a film. The first light we put in position is the key light. This should go at around a 40-degree angle from the master camera and be high enough to create a triangle of light underneath the opposite eye of the speaker. Here's how that looks with the lights off. Notice that triangle of light on Emily's right cheek. The second light to position is the fill light. This fills in the shadows created by the key light and goes at the same angle as the key light, but on the opposite side of your talent's face. In this example, we're going to set the intensity of the key and fill lights the same to create an evenly lit look, but you can play around with these levels depending on how you want your production to look and feel. Finally, we position the backlight, which helps to separate the talent from the background. Ideally, this should be approximately 60 degrees above the horizontal behind your talent, and should be aimed to hit the top of their head and shoulders. And it's a good idea to hide the stand out of shot so it doesn't stick out the top of the talent's head. Here's how it looks with those 3 lights together. To finish off, we're going to add a light to hit the plants and the colour armour. As you can see, Emily really stands out in this example. It's important that the settings you use with your camera and lights work in tandem, as together they control how your shots are exposed and what colours you record. Ensure your talent is lit correctly for the look you're trying to achieve. Most cameras these days include a vector scope that can tell you how well they are exposed. Also, try to ensure there is nothing over or underexposed, as this will create problems when colour grading. In terms of colour, your camera white balance settings are really important. Unless you're creating a specific look, typically you'd match the colour temperature setting on your key and fill lights to the white balance of your camera, as this will ensure your talent looks the right colour and not too blue or too orange. Most lights are either 5600K, which is daylight, or 3200K, which is tungsten, although some have the ability to pick a value in between these two. With audio, the most important thing is that your recording is clean and has as little background noise as possible. There are a wide variety of microphones, and the right one to use will depend on what it is you're filming. If you're investing in microphones for interviews or speakers, we'd recommend a lavalier or lapel mic, as that looks the nicest on camera. Just be sure to hide those cables well. Editing is a craft that has a language all of its own. It's incredibly powerful and can deeply affect how your viewers react to what they're watching. If you're interested in going deeper on this, look up Walter Murch's Rule of 6. In the most part, what you're aiming to do is hide the cut from the viewers so they don't notice it. So, for the purposes of this explainer, we're going to focus on 4 things that will keep your edit looking professional. 1. Always cut on an action. Cutting when your talent gestures or moves helps to disguise the cut, as their action catches the eye of the viewer as it carries through from one shot to the next. 2. Ensure your cuts are motivated. Don't just cut for the sake of it. Go to a close-up when you want to emphasise a point or emotion, or a long shot when your talent makes a big gesture. 3. Establish a rhythm. There's no hard and fast rule about when to cut, it should be determined by the content. That said, staying on one shot too long will become boring for your viewers, but by the same token, cutting too much will lessen the impact of what you're making. Try establishing a rhythm and let that rhythm ebb and flow with the nature of the content. 4. Cutting camera movement. Always try to cut from a static shot to another, or from a moving shot to another. If you have a mixture of static and moving shots, let the moving shot become static before cutting to a static shot. Once you've finished your edit, the final step is to grade your content. You might know this better as adding a filter. The most important aspect is to make sure your talent looks good. This means making sure their skin tone is well exposed and the right colour for what you're making. When grading, also check your blacks and your highlights. You don't want any of the image to be overexposed, over 100%, or noisy in the shadows. Noise is that speckled snow effect you see when an image is underexposed. Well, that's everything we have for you right now. Thanks for watching, and we hope these tips will start you on the way to creating some great looking content. Need more guidance? Visit us at Trainee TV and find out how we can help your productions directly.